Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today. I'm going to be working on day 9 of Handcrafted from Bythewell4God. I'm just starting out with my little journal here. I'm going to pull out the little folder I will be working on today. And I have this idea to kind of make the front of a quilt. So I'm just pulling out some of the flashcard and one of the digitals that go with this day, and just getting everything ready. Off camera, I took several of the pieces, just kind of the scrap pieces that I had from the pattern papers and a hymnal page, and I just cut it down into various sizes and shapes. And what I'm going to do is kind of create a quilt look on the top on this front side. And I don't know, when I was growing up, my mom had a quilt that was, I know a lot of quilts are like very, geometric and whatever, but my mom had this one quilt that my grandma made that was just random pieces, sewn together, just very, very haphazardly. And I remember loving that quilt. And so for some reason, like when I think of quilts, that's the quilt that I think of. So I'm just going to be kind of gluing these down here. I'm using some Liquitex matte medium and a paintbrush, and I'm just applying a thin coat with everything. I'm going to take a old credit card here and just kind of smooth out that one section. It was just buckling a little bit, and so I'm just putting a real thin coat down, and then I'm just going to kind of layer these pieces. I took a little bit to kind of arrange them how I thought they would look best, and then I'm just trying to keep them in that same configuration. So I'm just pulling up a couple at a time and putting the matte medium down underneath there. You could use Mod Podge or even a watered down like PVA glue, like Elmer's or Aleene's tacky glue or whatever. You could even use a glue stick if you wanted. You could really technically even just glue it down with like a tape runner if you wanted to, or your Barely Arts glue. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. It's just I find it easier to be able to use it with a brush with the matte medium. So I have this one section of this hymnal, and I wanted to save the title in particular. And so in the one corner it says "It is well," and then on the other one it says "With my soul." And I just wanted to kind of keep that intact as much as I can. And then I'm kind of coming back through and again just kind of doing those random bits. This is just how I remember that quilt of my grandmother's, and so I just thought it would be fun to kind of recreate that look. And so I'm adding a few more pieces here. I kind of did the base layer, and then I'm just kind of adding a few more pieces on top. And then I have to kind of switch my brain off because at this point I'm starting to go into collage all the things mode. So I'm like, let me add more layers, and I really had to kind of talk myself out of it at this point. I was like, no, just stop. You just need to stop. So collaging is a lot of fun. It's one of the things I just enjoy doing. So you can see me, and we're just really kind of going back and forth. In the end, I decided to add one more little piece of hymnal just to kind of balance it out and kind of knock back some of that black just a little bit. So I didn't want to have too much black in the background, because when I come through with the next step, it's going to darken this up quite a bit. And so I didn't want it to be too overwhelmingly dark. So I just took my heat tool and dried it a little bit. And now I'm pulling out back out that craft mat. And I'm going to be using these stamps from Bythewell4God. These are called Stitched with Jesus, I believe. And I'm going to be using these to create my little faux stitching around my quilt. So I will link my affiliate link for Bythewell4God down below. It doesn't cost you anything. It just helps me out a little bit. But if you're interested in getting some of these stamp sets or the new kit or anything, I'll leave that link down below. So anyway, I just kind of pulled out a stamping block, and then I have a scratch piece of paper so that I can stamp. And what I'm doing is I'm using first this zigzag stitch. You can see that stamp set off to the side has a lot of different styles of stitches. So for those of us who are sewing challenged, this is the perfect little workaround for that. I love this stamp set so much. So anyway, I'm using this zigzag, and I'm going to go all the way around the border of this card, and then I'm going to come back in with another stitch, just kind of trying to decide which one I thought would work. And I will go in, and now I'm going to outline each one of these pieces. And I pulled out some sticky notes because I'll need that I use those to kind of mask off areas when I'm stamping. So I'm kind of starting here around this hymnal piece, and then I'll go all the way around each one of these. So every kind of line where they intersect, where the, pieces of pattern paper kind of intersect, I'm going to add stitching and really kind of make this, hopefully, at least in my mind, look like a quilt. So you can see here I'm kind of trying to decide which direction I want to go with this, and then I pull out a sticky note because I need to stamp off one of these areas, or mask it off, so that I'm not getting those stitches where I don't want them. And I'm only inking up just a really small part of this stamp at this point because I'm just doing the little seams. And that's really the great thing is you could even kind of ink some up and, mark off, like wipe some off if it was too much or whatever. So it's the great thing about these kind of clear stamps. You can kind of just work around it. So I'm just going to go through here and I'm masking areas off with my little Post-it note. And then I had to end up stamping this one twice. And then I'll just move my little sticky note around as I need it so that I'm not running those stitches all the way through, some of those other fabrics. I won't make you watch me do this for the whole thing. It wasn't a difficult process, but it did take a minute to get around, all of the pieces that were on there. So this is what it looks like when it is finished. And I think it turned out so cute. At the time, I was kind of like, wow, this is really, really busy and overwhelming. And so I was kind of wondering what I was going to do. And I went ahead, because I used VersaFine ink, I went ahead and hit that with my heat tool because I was doing that over that matte gel medium. And I just wanted to make sure everything was really, really dry. And then on the back side, I thought about doing the quilting again, but then, quilts usually on the back side have a different fabric. So, at least my grandma's did. So anyway, I thought I would just add just a plain pattern paper on the back side just so I don't have that stark white, and just to kind of make it look cleaner. So I also pulled out this printable, this came in the digital set, and it talks about the recipe for a godly woman. And looking at it now, I'm like, I can't believe I just covered up all of that stitching and stuff that I did. But I was like, at the time, I felt like it was really like kind of in your face and a lot, but I really wanted to use this particular digital item because it talks about a recipe for a godly woman, and it goes through all these different things. And the title for this day's devotional, this is day 9. The title for the devotional is Godly Woman. And so I just felt like it really went together. But in order to get it to kind of pop off that really busy background, I needed to kind of anchor it. So I put it on this black pattern paper that you can get that coordinates with this kit. And just to kind of give it a little bit of interest. And I'm just trimming this down with some scissors. And then I will kind of adhere this on here. But it still kind of felt like it was fading too much into the background, and I was trying to make sure that you could still read the part that said, "It is well with my soul." That was just important to me personally. I just wanted to make sure I had those words visible. So then I decided to try to break up the background and the top card just a little bit. So I added this doily. This is just a paper doily. I think I got it at Michael's. I've just had it in my stash, and just so happens that it really coordinates with this kit, so I've been using them quite a lot. And so now I'm just going to glue this down. So I'm running some of my ATG on the back side of this, and then picking up the doily, and then I'll do it again and then glue everything down. And so this was not necessarily a difficult technique. It was more time consuming than anything. And so my inside of this folder is going to be a little bit more simple, just because I'm trying to balance out the amount of time that everything is taking. So I wanted to also indicate that this was day 9. So I came back to the cover, and I am using the stickers that come in the kit. And then I'm trying to decide kind of where I want this 9, just trying to tuck it in somewhere. And in the end, I just stick it in the top right hand corner of this little tag. I don't need it to be like super in your face or anything, just so that I can keep track. I just have it tucked in there. So on the inside, I have this flashcard that says prayer, and it's got a section of scripture where Jesus is talking to the disciples, teaching them how to pray. And I wanted to write out that entire section. It was about 10 or 15 verses. And so I pulled out some dot grid paper that I have, and I wrote all of that out, and I pulled out some other journaling cards and wrote out all of the scriptures that were in the devotional. There's a lot that were talking about like how to pray and different aspects of prayer. And it's just such an important aspect of our life that I really wanted to make sure that I was including all of those scriptures. And so what you see me doing here is just, I'm going to create some pockets for the inside. Like I said, I spent a lot of time between the cover and writing out all of these verses. And so I just really want to make sure, I wanted to make sure that I had those in there. So that means I'm just going to keep the inside really simple. So I'm using this pattern paper, the same pattern paper, and I'm just going to create pockets on each side of this folder on the inside. And then somehow I got my paper cut a little bit weird, so I'm just having to kind of mess with this here for a second, and I'll have to trim it down a little bit. But I just used my liquid adhesive to create the pockets, and you've heard me say that before. Whenever I'm creating a pocket, I like to use a liquid adhesive. That way it will dry and things won't like get stuck in it whenever you're putting things into the pocket. So that's pretty much the way that the inside is going to look. I am going to tuck this one really big journaling area here in on the right side with this flashcard that says prayer, because that is actually the verses that are on this flashcard are what is written on that tan paper that I tucked, that craft colored paper. And then I wanted to use this other journaling. I'm just trying to balance out the color and how everything looks inside here. You can see I have a couple of the digital items, but they all have scriptures and everything on them. So I decided to go ahead and round the corners of these ones that were the digitals. It just kind of helps have them just have a little bit more finished kind of look to them. So I had one on the left and one on the right, and then you'll see I'm trying to just kind of mix and match and see where I think things are going to look the best in terms of balancing different colors. And I was going to move this one over to the left side, but I really liked being able to see the flowers on that journaling card. So in the end, I just tucked everything back the way I had it the first time. Sometimes I just move things around, and it's just a folder. It's not, it doesn't necessarily really matter. And then I had a little bit of my my pocket there pull up, so I just had to glue that back down. And then just on this left side, I wanted to add just something else to kind of tie in some of those colors. So I'm looking at the stickers that came in the kit, and I'm just going to pull this one that has the spools. It just had the colors that were kind of in my journaling cards all in one little section, and I just thought that helped everything kind of go together just a little bit better. So that is basically it. I have everything, all the scriptures are tucked in here that were in that devotional. And then, like I said, I spent most of the time, doing that and constructing this quilt front. So in looking at it now, I'm kind of like, I wish I hadn't covered up so much of it. So I will probably do this technique again in a different way. But now I'm just going to slide this back into my journal here on my little string, and that's it for me. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can see my book's getting a little chunky there, but here's some close-ups as well. And until next time, bye-bye.